Combine integrate biotechnological components into almost every corner of their domain, from their health stations to their data storage. In military contexts, this isn't any different, as a majority of their forces blur the line between the living and the robotic. These warfighting units are called synths, or synthetics. Both the original retail and uncorrected versions of Raising the Bar mention that the synths were either created by the Combine or are the remnants of species taken over by the Combine through their various wars and conquests. Some are considered self-replicating and evolve on their own. It's also possible, by the time of the Uprising, the Combine didn't retain the knowledge of where each synth came from. The Prima Guide for Half-Life 2 says some may also be self-repairing, and their creation takes place within the Citadel. Half-Life 2 also shows manual repairs being done to the gunships within the Citadel. The Final Hours of Half-Life Alyx also elaborates that at least the Strider is scanned from its natural habitat and then cloned. Imperfections in the process led to the creation of the Construction Strider. The Prima Guide lists the Dropship, Gunship, Strider, and the Advisor as synths. There are also the Crab and Mortar synths. Based on visual characteristics, as well as the descriptions on what a synth is, the Advisor Pod and Hunter are also likely synths. The Advisor Pod and the Gunship share the same fin-like appendages and have common underside structures. These two synths might be from the same or from more closely related species. The level of technological merging appears to vary synth to synth, with each retaining different biological elements. The Strider, for example, still retains a fully organic brain. The Gunship appears to still breathe. The Advisors maintain natural skin and go through life stages, like other fully biological creatures. One of these life stages requires an incubation pod. Synths, to a degree, retain some level of vocalization. The Strider and Advisor can speak. The Hunter can laugh. The Gunship, Strider, and Hunter all appear to feel and vocally react to pain and their own deaths. Notably, despite the heavy amounts of augmentation, all human-based Combine forces do not meet the criteria of being synths. Gary, whose connection to the Vortessence was cut, recalled the Combine's attack on the Vortigaunt homeworld in a mural, showing their forces as Striders and Dropships.
The fact that Vortigaunts have a complicated relationship with time gave us a lot of leeway in terms of drawing this as a strict, linear timeline. For example, you may notice that the Vortigaunt uses contemporary Combine troops as shorthand for Combine invasions from the past.
As stated in Claire Hummel's commentary, the versions of the Strider and Dropship we see in Alyx and Half-Life 2 are more contemporary. The Combine forces that attack the Vortigaunts very well could have been different synths entirely. Synth forces would be used by the Combine both for the 7-hour war on Earth and their occupation later. These synth forces would be used by the Combine to fight back against the Resistance generally, confronting both Alex Vance and Gordon Freeman individually, as well as the pairing together. The Advisors, synths themselves, would take direct control of the Combine forces on Earth following the destruction of the Citadel and the death of Dr. Breen in the Uprising. Synths are seen all across Half-Life 2, the episodes, and Half-Life Alyx. Much of the concept art designed for the various synths in Half-Life 2 was created by Ted Bachman and Daba Eng. Ted Bachman says that he was inspired by synthetic life research that was ongoing at Los Alamos Labs in New Mexico at the time, as well as Bishop from Aliens, when designing his synths. Specifically, the scenes of him where you see inside his body, revealing it all to be machine parts and mechanical fluids. Daba Eng also mentions not merely wanting the synths to be creatures with robotics bolted onto them or implanted in them. Instead, the goal was to make them feel as though their current state was a forced technological evolution by the Combine. The development of some synths stretched back years prior to Half-Life 2's release. The Strider and Crab synth already had models for the 2000 SIGGRAPH demo as seen in Valve's footage here. The gunship would be model complete by E3 2002, though with different texturing. The Strider would make a reappearance there too. And both would be seen again at E3 2003. All three would make it to retail. The Crab synth, though, would only be a background character in one map in the Citadel, along with the Mortar synth. A couple of synths were concepted, but never made it into any of the retail titles. One of them is the aptly named Combine Synth Elite Soldier. It would have once been human, with some designs retaining a human head. It would have been the human synth, a version of which would appear at E3 2002. There was also this unnamed insect-like synth, featuring heavy armor plating and major tech components within it. One piece of concept art has it beside the Crab synth, which it shares design elements of. If this concept art is roughly to scale with the retail Crab synth model, this insect synth would be about the size of a dog. Although not stated to directly be a synth, the SACTech enemy concept appears to have operated very similarly to Ted Bachman and Daba Eng's idea of what a synth is. They were to feed on enemies they were launched at, and create a new generation of SACTechs in a self-replicating system. The descriptions for the Combine Elite, as well as its design, are very similar to the synths we see in retail. There are other Combine units that were developed for the games that somewhat blur the biological and technological line, but they were never described as synths. This includes the Alien Assassin, the Cremator, and the Alien Combine Soldier. The Advisor, at least, was once concepted to appear in Episode 3, as seen in this artwork of a combinified cavern.